Hi, we're here at the World Wealth Creation Conference with David Herne of Spring from Russia. So I'll just jump right into it. So how long have you been living in Russia?
I've been in Russia for 25 years.
Okay, and what made you decide to move to Russia?
Ooh, well, it happened 25 years ago, so it's hard to remember the exact thought process. Basically, I'd been studying the language just for fun in university, and I couldn't speak it at all, and it was very frustrating. So I moved to Russia for just one semester to do an extra study of the language, and I am still there 25 years later.
Okay, great. So your company has done 600% returns in 4 years. Do you want to explain a bit about that? Like what contributes to the growth of the Russian market?
Yeah, those are two very different questions, right? So historical returns were strong. We also had years, by the way, where there was very poor returns, just to set the record straight. But having strong returns in the past was about identifying good stocks, in this case, identifying a good time in the market, and basically being in the right place at the right time. So it's a little bit about being intelligent in the way you choose what to buy, when to sell, and it's a lot about being lucky in terms of being in the right place at the right time.
Okay. And then your firm invests mostly in equities, private equity. And so how does private equity in Russia differ from, say, private equity in the U.S.?
Private equity in Russia, as far as I know a lot about private equity in Russia. I know less about private equity in the U.S., although some. The principal difference that I can see is that in Russia, a successful investment will depend on having the right team. In the US, the idea, the business model, the segment, the financing is all very important. The team is also important in the US, but in Russia, the team is not one of many important things. It is the only thing that really makes a difference. In Russia, if you have a good team, you will probably have a good investment. If you do not have a good team, you will probably not have a good investment. And it doesn't matter what the other parameters are.
Okay, very interesting. And then you're also invested in blockchain. Do you want to tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, the blockchain now looks a little bit like the Russian equity market in the early 90s. A lot of interesting paper being traded. People do not understand what the paper represents and trade it based on mood, emotion, fashion, whether they like the sound of the name. And it's all really like the whole cryptocurrency mania now. But similarly, Russia had a future, and it was a good area to invest in. And similarly, blockchain has a future, right? And in 5-10 years, there will be some companies that will have done very well in this space, and we would like to identify them and still be around in 5-10 years.
Okay. And then, so what are your viewpoints, or where do you think the viewpoints are in Russia on cryptocurrencies and ICOs, since it's a huge craze right now globally?
Yeah, Russia's big. I mean, you may know that Russia is hugely, disproportionately represented among developers in the cryptocurrency business. So a lot of the coders, a lot of the people who start these businesses, who are doing the ICOs, are Russian or Belarusian or Ukrainian. There's a huge Russian language presence there, because historically they had very strong cryptography, very strong coding, and it's become, and big as it may seem in the U.S., it's bigger in Russia. It's very popular. It's very present.
And is the government in support of these new technologies, or?
The government does not have one clear position, right? The government in Russia, despite what it may appear, is not one unified entity. It's different groups within the government. And there are some in the Russian government who strongly support blockchain development. And for example, the Moscow Stock Exchange, which is owned by the government, is working on developing the functionality to trade crypto. It's being held back because there's others in the government who are very cautious. So there's different views.
Okay. Okay, great. So, any tips on investing, or you're quite bullish on Russia, obviously. So,
I'm bullish on Russian equities
yeah.
over the next 2 years. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's enough, really. I think a monkey throwing darts could find good Russian equities to buy over the next 2 years.
Okay. Well, great. Well, thank you so much for your time, and then enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you.
Thank you.